the way that I live life and the way that I move through business is just by communicating honestly with people. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
one thing, if that's one thing I can impart, is like being a media buyer is one thing, but you should be able to communicate and understand how people communicate as well.
Welcome, my man, Stan Pavlovsky. I'll say it wrong again. This is the second intro. His internet connection was shit on the first one, but we're doing it again, and we're gonna make it work this time. So we've moved from laptop to phone. So we'll see how this goes. Comparatively to the LFG show, that was a way higher production than this. We're just like we're slumming it. We're slumming it over here, just trying to get some content out.
Brother, it's all good. It's all good. I'm happy to do it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We
To be
can do
honest,
another
man,
one in
we're
person too.
we're not about the quality of video, and I've said this a million times. We're about the quality of content. That's what really matters. It's just like we want to hit the good shit. So,
For
all
sure.
right.
I mean, I've seen the guests that you have on the show, so I'm very, very happy to be part of such a roster.
Yeah, bro, and I feel like you've been so instrumental in a lot of the paper call stuff and everything. So it's good to have you on, dude. I love chatting with intelligent people, and sometimes I enjoy chatting with unintelligent people as well, because those are my people. So I don't know,
Hey,
it'll
I'm
be
one of
good.
your people. I'm definitely one of your people,
Yeah, that's not true, man. You're a smart fucking dude. I've heard you
one way or
talk about some
another.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so let's dive into this. Stan, take us from the top. Tell us who the fuck you are, bro, and how you got into this spot.
Yeah, so before I had technical difficulties, so my name is Stan Pavlovsky. I am currently the Chief Strategy Officer for a company called Enroll Here. And I got my start about almost 10 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago at this point, I can't remember anymore, but at Retriever, where I was the Chief Revenue Officer, kind of climbed through the ranks of being just kind of like a salesperson making 60K a year, and obviously climbing through the ranks and gaining authority in the industry through networking and talking to people and generally not fucking anybody over. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it
Yeah,
was all
yeah, we don't
about,
care.
this is an industry where honesty matters, and I try to set an example and be a very straightforward person. But as I was telling you before, I never had really any plans to get into the space to begin with. And what's really funny is the other day I had my first happy cry of my life. And which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for at 36 to have the first happy cry of your life. I'm sure you happy cried when you had your son. My happy cry was a little bit
Fuck
different. That
no.
no,
Fuck no.
you didn't happy cry.
Bro, it was the weirdest experience, man. It was just like, it sounded like my wife was fucking dying, and there was just like stuff everywhere. And I was like, is this kid okay? Is my wife okay? What the hell is going on?
Oh,
The room
it
was
is.
gross. I'm just like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm ready to go home.
Dude, it's a very scary thing to go through for sure. I mean, it's and congratulations, you have like an
Thank you.
adorable little tank walking around.
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures. This kid's a unit.
He's hilarious,
So
man. He's hilarious. Yeah,
yeah.
I love the guy.
So so the reason I had my happy cry was because, before getting into this industry, I was working with kids with neurological disabilities, and I got very, very close with one family, Paul and Kunval Madhar. Their son, his name is Zen. He was the first kid in Canada to receive cannabis as treatment for seizures. And
Interesting.
just telling you the story, I mean, this is a deeply religious Muslim lady that wore a hijab at the time, and she, went out in Mississauga, which is like on the outskirts of the GTA in Toronto, and literally went up to like a dealer, bought some marijuana from him, and then gave her 5 or 6 year old son a super, which is where you inhale the smoke and then you breathe the
Yeah.
smoke into the other person's mouth. And she did this with her kid because he was suffering from seizures. He was having on average one seizure per hour, and these were like grand mal seizures. They were like very, very scary seizures. And the scariest part of all of this was this all stemmed from a birth injury. So he was supposed to be born completely healthy, and he got stuck in the birthing canal, and the doctor basically said, "Tough it up and push." Like, he didn't want to use the forceps, he didn't want to use any of the other tools. I know a lot about this stuff because
Yeah.
prior to Retriever, I worked with kids with disabilities, and I also worked in personal injury. And at the very kind of end of my career there, I focused specifically on referrals within the medical malpractice field.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy because this family was able to get a settlement from suing the doctor that messed up and
Yeah.
so gravely injured this child. But the reason I happy cried is because Paul came over to my new place, and we're sitting here and chatting, and then he shows me this video of like, you have to understand, level 4 cerebral palsy means complete inability to do anything. Like
Yeah.
you're in a wheelchair, you probably can't speak, you can't move, and it's not like an intelligence deficiency, it's all muscle. So it's
Yeah.
all like your body isn't moving properly, your mouth, your tongue, everything, nothing is moving properly. You can't properly communicate with the world, and which is scary. And especially with Paul and Kunval, I was so invested in their care and in their lives that I would go to sick kids, and I would take their place. Like, I would lay in the bed with Zen on my chest, and just tell them, go have a coffee, go
Yeah.
do something, go have an evening to yourselves, because
Yeah.
the divorce rate in that community is like over 90%. Like, it's nuts. Like, you can't, you blame yourself, you blame your partner, you blame
Yeah.
everybody in the
It's a lot of
world.
stress.
It's a lot of stress, and
So,
it's a very tough
so hold on,
environment.
question there. So
Yeah.
you said it's all like muscle related. Is their brain fully functioning normally? And
In some
and it's just
cases,
a
yes. In some cases, no.
yeah,
But Zen is a very cognitively advanced kid, and
yeah,
he was really good at math. For instance, like, you could ask him pretty advanced mathematical questions, like multiply three digits by three
yeah.
digits, and he would make a sound or something to signify the answer if you gave him a multiple choice
Oh,
um,
interesting.
answer. And so he would communicate in a lot of ways like that. They've done really an amazing job with him in trying to rehabilitate him, or at the very least give him the best possible chance at
Yeah,
the best normal that you can have
yeah,
with somebody like that. And the other day when Paul came by, I kid you not, like, dude, I'm sitting here. I have like Vlad also from Enroll Here. He's sitting on the other
yeah,
side of the table because the internet was out at his house, so he's like working from my place. And I didn't expect him to be here for this moment, nor did I expect this to happen. But Paul comes by and shows me this video of Zen in an exoskeleton walking,
oh,
and
crazy.
and dude, like even talking about it, but seeing that, I broke
Yeah,
down. Like, I'm sitting in the exact same
yeah,
spot, and just tears, and I'm just like, I'm sitting, I'm like, this is the heaviest,
yeah,
most amazing moment in the past few
yeah,
years. It was fantastic. So that's like kind of my past life is working,
yeah,
with kids like that. And one day, it was actually David Brook. He runs a company called inbounds.com. Him and Leo teamed up and created that company. Uh, he invited me to my 25th birthday dinner or something like that. And we smoked a bunch of pot, and we go to this like great steakhouse, and
yeah,
I'm sitting at the steakhouse at the bar, and I'm watching TV, and because Dave is like talking to one of his friends, whatever, and this guy's sitting beside me, and we're both staring at the screen, and they're showing synchronized swimming, of all
yeah.
things, and I'm so stoned that I'm like watching it, I'm like, that can't be real. Like, if you've ever spent more than a minute, watching
Yeah.
synchronized swimming, you're just like, that's not a real thing. People
It's
can't
impressive.
reverse out. How do you reverse out of the water, first of all? Like, how does that
Yeah.
work? You know?
S-
And so I start laughing and communing, whatever. And I'm talking to this guy beside me who's also, watching this. And that ends up being Jason Kay, who's the founder and creator of Retriever. And, this guy, he's like a genius developer that, like, at this point, I'm so far outside of like understanding any of the stuff that, he tells me, yeah, I run, a phone company. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you, whatever, you're
Yeah.
like Rogers or whatever, some small time
Yeah.
company. And I don't really think much of it. And then a week later or something like that, I see him again. He's a memorable guy. He's like 6'5", and you
Yeah.
know, he's a cool dude. And so I'm walking at the ROM, which is the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, and they had these nights where you could like go out and like walk around and drink inside of the museum, and it was
Nice.
like
Yeah.
supposed to be like a way for to meet women or men or
Yeah.
whatever, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like it was just an environment for that type
Interesting
of thing.
people. Yeah.
Interesting
Yeah.
people that would like to be in that environment. And
Yeah.
Jason's like walking down the stairs, I'm walking up the stairs, I'm like, oh shit, you're the guy. And you know, we become
Hmm.
friends eventually,
Hmm.
right? Like that's how male bonding or male friendship happens. If you bump more than once into a guy,
Yeah,
you're like
for sure.
eventually you're going to become friends with this person. And so we become friends, and one day he tells me, he's like, yeah, you know, I just like fired my entire staff and da 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 da.
Yeah.
We'll get into why later, but the idea is that I just kind of see this as an opportunity, and we talk about it and tell him like, look, man, you know, like this is a very heavy thing that I'm doing, and he basically offers me a job, and so I start working, and I know absolutely nothing about this industry, and we have
Yeah.
certain people in the company at the time that wanted to go the route of like traditional agency and working with like HubSpot customers. And it's like, oh, if we get, you know, 10,000 HubSpot customers at 40 to $100 a customer, and then we're making lots of money. And I started looking through the accounts after, I think it was like 6 months in or something, where, you know, I'm learning about the business, I'm learning the technical aspects of the business. And I start seeing these companies that are doing 1,000 calls a day, 2,000 calls a day. And in particular, I'm seeing a company called Fluent. I'm seeing a company called Assurance IQ. Assurance,
Yeah.
before their exit, before they went to Prudential, they were using Retriever as well. And a lot of, you know, they gave us a lot of opportunity to grow our business by giving us certain ideas that we had to implement in our product. And so, you know, so I go from this kind of like absolute days of not knowing what I'm doing to my first leads con. Shout out Jeff. He was my first meeting at LeadsCon, and I was his first meeting. And we've since, you know, we've both kind of grown and became really good friends over the years. But you know, that's kind of the story. Is, you know, like I go to my first leads con, and I'm like, Jesus, why are we going after these agencies where when we could be working with performance marketers, and performance marketers, you know, are kind of the rock stars of the marketing space. That's how I viewed it at
Yeah.
the time, and I still view it that way, because you guys are the ones that put your dollars where you believe and where your mouth is, and you know, you do act like rock stars in the end, driving nice, you know, GT3s like some people, and or you know, and
Yeah.
you know, having you know, lavish kind of lifestyles, because you know, that's what you deserve if you're going to spend your own money and you're going to kind of risk everything
Hmm.
on your own beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So I have immense respect for everybody in the performance marketing space,
Yeah.
and I've learned over the years, I've learned so much from people, and I've improved my own life as a result, you know. So
Hmm.
that's the beginning. It was Retriever, and you know, I realized that the network effect is extremely important. I realized that even if you're not going to make money right away, you know, I started reading a lot of books, and I read Zig Ziglar, and I read How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yeah.
and Models was one of the most foundational and amazing books I've ever read by Mark Manson. He's the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And
Oh, interesting.
so he talks in Models, it's all about dating, right? And
Yeah.
to me, there's no difference between dating and sales. It's the exact same process.
I
You're
would
just
agree. Yeah.
switching out certain things, right? And one of the things that he says in that book, which really resonated with me, was, as a guy, when you're about to go on a date, on a first date, second, third, whatever, you're always thinking in your head, you're like, oh gosh, you know, I hope that this girl likes me.
Yeah.
But if you were to switch that mentality and start saying, I hope that I like her, or
Yeah.
I hope that I like this person that I'm going to do business with,
Yeah.
then suddenly the butterflies are gone from your stomach, and suddenly it becomes almost like an interview where you don't have to invest as much of yourself and your desire, because you're really just trying to find out if this person matches and vibes with you, and has you know, the things that are necessary for you to even want to work with them. And that in
Yeah.
sales is very important, because especially in sales and performance marketing, you know, everybody has their bullshit meter, and
Oh, yeah.
everybody is a student of human behavior, because you have to be in order to create the best ads, and you have to be in order to make sure that you're working with the best people as well, right? So that book really kind of changed my approach towards how I communicate with people generally in my life. I now go into pretty much any situation with this mentality of, I really hope I like this person.
Yeah.
And then that allows me to have very honest and open and vulnerable communication without kind of thinking about it, you
Yeah.
know?
That's
So
smart.
that
That's really
led, yeah.
smart. And like, I think that it's interesting, man, because like I've said this many times, especially in this space, and like there is a level of skill set to this industry. There's always a level of hard work to it, but the people that I always see grow the fastest are the people who are great connectors and that are great at just like networking. Even regardless of what level they're at, even if they're just getting started, man, the guys who ask the questions and get involved with so many people are the guys that grow the quickest every time. And I've seen probably thousands and thousands of people come through this space, and it always is the same story.
Dude, you're responsible for how many millionaires do you think you've created through your teachings and through everything that you've done at this point? Like, you've created multiple millionaires, and you've been able to achieve a certain level of greatness that I don't think anybody can touch, due to the fact that you're able to share your knowledge in such a open way. I mean, shout out James Van Elswyk. One of my favorite quotes from James is, "A candle loses nothing by sharing its flame." uh, and I
Yeah.
think you kind of prescribe to the same idea. You definitely bring so much value through the advanced affiliate mastermind and through everything that you're doing, that that's why I respect you immensely. Is I remember that when I first connected with you and you were telling me about the event, and then I started sponsoring it, I'm like, I love everything about this type of stuff. Like, this
Hmm.
is what the industry should be like, because there's enough to go around. And it's greed and aggressive toxic competition that ruins it. We're all
Yeah.
competing with each other, obviously, but
For sure.
there's a difference between healthy competition and some of the stuff that happens in our space.
Yeah. You know what? Someone asked me that at my last event, and off the top of my head, man, like revenue base, I'd probably say 50 plus millionaires, maybe more. Um, I would say out of like if we want to like step it up and take them to like the 10 million mark, I would probably say there's about 10 in there, and
That's
then
fantastic.
I don't know. Yeah, man. So it's pretty cool to see. It's fun having influence in the space as much as I did. I never really expected to, man. I kind of just it just worked out that way. It just came from necessity, and then it kind of just grew, and that's where we are today. So
Yeah, I mean, it's all about learning, and you really do provide the best amount of content. I mean,
thank you.
anybody that asks me about this industry, and obviously a lot of people do that aren't part of the space,
Hmm.
I give a shout out to Firdaz Naimi in my last podcast for his accolades in MMA. But the last time he came by my place a few days ago, he's like, yeah, now I'm doing an e-com thing, and I'm learning about how to do media buying. And I
Cool.
would love to have. I'll talk. I'll ask Bo. We'll see what he says. But Bo Nickel has a skin cream for recovery for athletes, and he's
Oh, that's
making
cool.
great money in e-com as well now. So there's a lot
Hmm.
to be said about learning such a valuable skill in marketing and with media buying specifically, because you go to a traditional agency and they'll say, yeah, give me a
Yeah.
$10,000 retainer and give me this and this, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll I'll help your brand. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean, really? Like, it, you
Yeah.
know
That's what I always say. That's what I say to guys too, right? Like I think that like even like lower level like the affiliate stuff, I don't think it's for everyone because it can be a serious grind, right? But I do say that the skill set that you learned, even if you pivoted over to like an agency sort of thing, you will out you will like beat out a majority of agencies because it's performance based and you understand that versus like, hey, we have thousands of eyes that saw your ad and they didn't really make you any money, but just to let you know, like thousands of people that saw it and you still will get paid, right? So I think that like just coming into everything performance based mindset, and like even if it's like an e-com brand, whatever, I think you're going to do much better long run. even if you decide to drop the affiliate side of things, right? Because I think it's not for everyone. It's a hustle at times, right? Um, yeah, yeah. So I don't
It's a
know.
massive hustle. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so now, being an Enroll Here, it's interesting to go from, I was telling Tyler, the founder of Enroll Here, the other day, that it's so interesting to go from kind of a company where, we have our competitor. We had at the time, and today I'm sure Ringba and Retriever are always
yeah,
kind of head to head on the pay per call side as a technology platform, and we're always kind of fighting against them. And in some cases, me and Adam Young would butt heads, or
yeah,
vice versa. And now being kind of on the side of disruption instead of on the side of where we're both kind of seasoned companies, and being in an environment where, again, a startup, we started about a year ago. I joined, essentially beginning of January was when I resigned from Retriever
yeah,
and joined Enroll Here. And I was panicking again. I
yeah,
panicked. I panicked so much that I started smoking cigarettes, because I was like, I don't know this space, and it's like so different from kind of being at the helm to now
yeah,
being, I'm still a C-suite officer, but at the same time, I have to prove myself to these people, and
yeah,
these are people with far deeper accolades than I have. So I have great respect for everybody there, for Nick and Nico and Tim and Tyler and Brandon and Josh and Ryan. Like, these are all guys that kind of came together and started. Ryan, Josh, and Tyler all owned IFG together, which was the largest FMO in the United States. 15,000 agents. I think at this
yeah.
point this year they're above 1.5 million policies in Medicare right now, which is
Oh wow.
crazy, crazy. So those guys themselves, and then selling that beast to Humana,
Hmm.
was I'm sure had insane amounts of difficulties of their own. And also having our CEO Brandon Clay there, who I try to emulate now, because I've seen how he functions, and I've seen how Tyler sells, and I'm in a position where I kind of still work a lot on the sales side, but I also work on strategy. But now
Yeah.
I'm trying to really go from this kind of guerrilla warfare, very aggressive sales style, to now being more refined and kind of growing and switching and learning. And I Tyler jokes, but he finds my sales style to be very awkward, because the way that I am, again, because of models, because of all these things that I've read in my life, I don't really have the sense of awkwardness anymore, where like I'll walk into a room and I'll like approach somebody and be like, "Hey, I'm Stan. Nice to meet you."
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of
Yeah.
those guys, and I'll just keep pushing. And I think Dylan Graham, I don't know if you know him, he's a great guy. He was one of my first hires at Retriever. He says, he's like, I brute force friendship.
I mean, that's nice because
Like,
to be honest, we kind of need that in this space because I feel like a lot of people are so closed off, and just because like a lot of guys don't interact with other people, right? Like, and that's why
yeah,
you see such a huge increase in all these shows. Like, people are going to a show almost every second month, it seems now. And I think it's not because they're like doing business. It's just mostly because everyone wants to hang out with everyone because that's the friend circle now.
it really
Um,
is. It really is.
yeah. So I think that
Yes.
like your forced friendship is I think it's desirable, even though it may come off a little strong in the beginning. I think a lot of people do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think, well, in the end, luckily it's worked out for me. But now, being on the side of where I'm very deep in speaking to, companies like Swiss Re, or Senior Market Sales, or the bigger entities out there.
Yeah.
I find myself having to refine my approach and refine how I communicate with people. And
Hmm.
as our industry grows in legitimacy, which is exactly what's happening, is performance marketing is gaining a lot of momentum, and it is growing in legitimacy. as it's growing in legitimacy, I think we all are starting to become a little bit more refined in the way that we approach
Yeah.
sales or approach one another. And yeah, I'm sure there's still, the same level of partying that's been happening for years, but I think now a lot of people are kind of waking up and, they've made their money, they've kind of enjoyed their success, and now they're starting to get more serious about how do I, add an additional decimal
Yeah.
point to my
Yeah.
net worth, right? Like, how do I go from 10 million to 100 million? How do I go from 5 million to 10 million?
Hmm.
And that requires changing tactics, because certain tactics can only apply to that first kind of tranche or chunk of your life, and then now
Yeah.
you have to kind of move and spread and kind of adapt, right? So the reason I brought up like Tyler and those guys is they are so refined and so knowledgeable in the insurance space. We did a demo for a customer. I wasn't in the room when we were doing the actual walkthrough of the platform, but I spoke to him afterwards, and he eventually signed up with us. But he said that our platform is built in a way where if he, as an insurance company owner, were to hire a bunch of developers and build a platform, it's exactly how he would build it. And that's kind of the advantage, kind of conversation full circle. So going from Retriever, where I'm fighting against a known opponent, where we're both just bashing our heads together, to now being part of a disruption company that started recently and has grown at a speed that it's cautious optimism mixed with curiosity and fear. That's where we
Yeah.
are, and because fear, not so much, but fear from the perspective of like dude, like this growth is crazy. Like, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen next, right?
Yeah.
It's the fear of the unknown, and everybody coming back to us and giving us feedback. But me going to these shows and communicating with people now is very different, and the conversations are so exciting. And the sales side of it is almost like shooting fish in a barrel, because nobody expects our product to have all of the different tools and things that we have. I mean, did I ever tell you about Enroll Here and what we do, what the
No,
product
so
is?
I was going to ask that next. I was like, what the fuck do you do and what is Enroll Here?
So yeah, so let's get into it. So Enroll Here is a full. I hate using this word, but it's the only one that makes sense. It's an omni-channel platform. What that
Yeah.
means is that we have a full stack of all the different things that are necessary for an insurance company to run their business, but these same elements also apply to businesses outside of insurance. So it can be from home services, it can be for really any company that does telesales and
Yeah.
requires like telehealth, for instance, that requires software that does kind of a full funnel approach to things. So number one is we have an inbound dialer that allows for agents to be hosted within our ecosystem. It's browser based. It's not an app that you have to install on your laptop or whatever, which means that the level of requirement for the computer is really just have a good internet connection. So
Yeah.
so that's the dialer side, and the dialer includes kind of all of the necessities of life that a management team would want from a dialer, meaning you can very quickly look from, between your regular team of agents and your downlines, or you can click on an agent and right away see their CPA, see how many hours they've been on the phone, be able to pause them,
Hmm.
unpause them. You can set caps, not just like if you have, let's say an agent that's new, you can set a cap based on CPA instead of just based on a hard cap of how many phone calls they can take. Because let's say they're doing really well, it's a new agent, but their CPA is at $100, and your
Yeah.
allowable CPA is 150, right? Why stop them from continuing to practice and get more phone calls in if they're doing well in the sale, right? So
Yeah.
that's like, and then obviously the reporting side of that dashboard, we break down to every possible level of CPA you can imagine, and every possible kind of view that's available, from
Mhm.
state to creative to agency to agent by state, and all these other things.
Got it.
Then we have what I discovered, and I had no idea about any of this because again, I was never on the insurance side heavily. We have a commissions product, which seems to be addressing one of the biggest pain points in the industry. So imagine you're an insurance agency. Now, you know about Medicare, you know about ACA, you know how to
Yeah.
market and sell that product. But
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, the marketers don't know enough about what actually happens on the other side. Commissions being the biggest pain in the ass out of everything, from what I can understand at the very least, because there is no tool until now, there's no tool that properly calculates those commissions in the same way that we do. So what happens is at the end of the month or in the end of the week, whenever you're trying to pay out, you get these reports from the carriers, and all the reports aren't standardized. So every carrier has their own Excel spreadsheet or their own kind of way of presenting information. And you have to use that information to figure out how much money you're making, and then figure out the overrides and how much money you're going to be paying each one of those agents. And this is just an exercise in patience and how much Adderall you can take, because it's an insane amount of data that you have to kind of crunch down. And it's like you're in the business where you're trying to make money and sell insurance, but in reality you're staring at spreadsheets all day trying to figure out how to pay your agents, right? And the more agents you have and the more agencies you're part of, that process becomes much more complicated. So we have a commissions product now that automates that entire kind of process. And I've seen a lot of benefit and a lot of great feedback from our current customer base. We're currently pushing about 3,500 agents on the platform.
Oh, crazy.
So yeah, so we've grown. I mean, dude, like, and this is since October of last year to now being in April. That's a massive growth. So the commissions product has been instrumental in helping a lot of the agencies kind of get back a lot of time that they can now use for other things, training more agents, taking a break, anything that's not doing commissions. We also have a compliance product that listens to each and every single phone call that goes through the system for that agency, and then scores it based on the 25 questions that carriers ask. So this is interesting. So I didn't know this. I don't know if you knew this, but once a month, a carrier can come to an agency and say, hey, I'm going to give you a list of like 10 random phone calls, and I want us to sit together and listen to them and make sure that they answer all of the compliance questions that have to be answered and asked by an agent when communicating with a potentially insured person. And if they don't answer those questions properly and don't ask them properly, they will actually, that might not be a valid policy.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So yeah. So this is new, right? Like I didn't know that this was a thing.
So how does that do that? Is it like AI based and it just like is looking for keywords? Got it.
Yeah, so this is AI based. It transcribes the entire phone call. Because we're HIPAA compliant and we're SOC 1, SOC 2, we have kind of all the security stuff. It listens to the phone call, anonymizes all of the PII in the transcription, so it removes all of the personal information, but it scores the phone call and it'll say, agent did answer these questions, and so there's a rating. And when agencies were coming on board onto Enroll Here, they would say, like we're compliant, we're doing everything fine, and then they would look at their score and it would be like 40%, and they would all be shocked and be like, what do you mean 40%? How is that possible? And we're now trying to help them raise that score from 40 to 60 to 80. I think now it's hovering at around 60%, so it's going up. But we actually have like a full kind of educational program within that compliance platform that allows you to understand, and we're building certain features that are going to help, because sometimes the reason these agents aren't performing properly on the compliance side is because they're not, I'd shoot myself in the head if I had to continually read the same release over and over and over and over again, right? So you want to sell and you want to move on. So we have some plans for certain features that I'm not going to discuss, but they're gonna really help with that type of stuff. What am I forgetting? Cool. So this is the reason I really want to talk to you. We have a marketplace for calls that's managed by a TPA called BrightSource, and what we're doing with that marketplace is we only want to work with originating publishers. I don't want to work with networks. I don't want to work with arbitrage people that are just kind of marking
Yeah.
up the call. I'm friends with a lot of them and I respect what they do, and it is what it is. You
Yeah.
know, arbitrage exists for a reason. In some cases, there's companies that'll pay on a net 30 and a publisher can't float 30 days of capital. So they'll go to
Yeah.
a network or to somebody that's able to float it and then pay them on a net 7 or whatever the case may be. So we go, we're looking for publishers that are originating publishers of phone calls in the Medicare, health insurance, and life insurance slash final expense space that can do compliant lead generation and media buying, and they can funnel those calls to us. The beauty is with us is even though you're selling to one phone number, um, you don't have a single point of failure from the perspective of where those phone calls go, because we do have 100 agencies or so on the platform
Yeah.
now. So you're selling to all of them and they get to choose. So we don't really have control over who you're selling to, what happens. And so people will come to me and be like, oh, I want cap or whatever. And I'll tell you like,
Yeah.
or why am I not receiving, you know, why are you guys not buying more of my calls? And I'll say, well, first of all, we're not the ones buying. It's our customer base.
Yeah.
And second of all, if your calls aren't performing for that customer, then they're not going to buy from you. But there's other people out there that
Interesting.
will from that network. So you're selling to
So it's
one
like,
number. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like it's essentially like a built-in ping tree.
It's essentially like to an extent, right? So it's just one phone number going to a bunch of people. We're not
Yeah.
pinging for bids or anything like that. We kind of have a flat price,
Yeah.
but we are obviously checking for availability, making sure
Yeah.
that there's an agent available, etc.
Interesting.
But the concurrency of agents available within that one phone number is massive. So
Yeah.
instead of and you as a publisher don't have to go now to like 10, 20, 30 organizations and chase all of them for money.
Mm-hmm.
You just come to our TPA to RightSource and they figure out all the accounting and everything for you. And that goes, you know, for the other side. So the buyers that are and the agencies that are purchasing these phone calls through our platform are also able to just work with RightSource as the
Yeah.
entity that deals with all of this, and really just creates a really good network effect where publishers don't have to go looking for a bunch of buyers. We are continually adding more and more
Yeah.
people to the roster. Obviously, we'll highlight and say, hey, these guys are really good, or these guys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But it's up to the agency to kind of
Yeah.
make that choice.
That's really smart because I feel that like the usual like trajectory of like an affiliate marketer is they come in, they work with networks, and then they start building out their own stuff. They get really good at niches, but there is a big gap between finding the buyers, setting up your own stuff, and handling all the technical side of things. So it sounds like you're removing quite a bit of that with that. Um, it's smart, and I think it would give the average affiliate an upper hand as well, because I'm assuming those payouts are going to be much larger. Like I'm pretty sure they're not paying $7 per Medicare lead that way, right? Like I'm assuming they're
They're
quite
not paying
high.
$7. We're not the highest of we're not the highest paying, but it's also you have to remember. So when we started, we didn't want to go right away for the biggest companies. We started by
Yeah,
going after the agencies that have 10 agents in them, and
yeah,
those agencies will pay like $10 to $12 for a phone call,
yeah.
right? As we grow, obviously, and by the way, the reason we're able to do that is because on the top side, you know, there's SelectQuote and eHealth and whoever
Yeah,
who are going to pay that kind of higher payout of like 60,
yeah,
whatever, $50. So eventually, as we grow, we're going to begin getting more of these bigger customers, and then obviously the payouts are gonna increase as well because they're gonna have a higher threshold. Obviously, this also comes with more restrictions in terms of what kind of
hmm
creatives you're able to use. So we don't want, like, for instance, in final expense, I really, really want more final expense pay per call right now. We have quite a few good agencies that are signing on, and you know, the problem with final expense is the advertising out there is kind of very misleading. Like it'll be like, you know, get your $25,000 policy or whatever
yeah,
for free or something like that. So those are not good advertorials, and we can
yeah,
when we have meetings with affiliates, we'll tell them, hey, this is what works, this is what we're seeing is really good. um,
yeah,
you know, and in some cases it's also prudent for inbound media buyers to work with call centers to verify certain things before sending
Yeah.
the phone call to us. So, shout out Boris, Pitch Perfect. He's been a great partner to a lot of people over the years now. And, he's what, like 700 or 800 agents, almost 1,000 agents at this point. And,
Oh, crazy.
like you're able to send calls through his agents that double verify everything and then send the calls into
Hmm.
the platform as well. So but that's obviously deals that you have to that publishers
Yeah.
have to make with him. But yeah, so it's an interesting kind of dynamic that we're in now, where I come up to an agency and I tell them, yeah, I have all these tools, but I also have the leads, and I also have the commissions, and I also have the compliance, and I also have, you know the biggest piece of all of this is also we have quoting and enrollment. So the same agent that's sitting on the phone doesn't have to use multiple systems. They can go into our platform to do the quoting and enrollment of a Medicare policy.
Hmm.
Which gives
Hmm.
us greater. Imagine you as a media buyer receiving back feedback saying this phone call led to this policy,
Yeah.
not just to this conversion, because the conversion is great and it's a good thing, but if you can then take that data back to your Google accounts or Facebook accounts or whatever and use some AI and figure out a better lookalike audience, then
Yeah.
you're obviously making more money, and we're going to want to work with you more. So publishers have to get a little bit more advanced in the way that they're
Yeah.
doing this stuff, and you'll see that if maybe 5 6 years ago, and maybe even a few, like 2 years ago, agencies weren't as sophisticated. I'm
Hmm.
going to shout out Brandon Clay, our CEO. He says what we're doing today is we're democratizing the technology for everybody, from the smallest kind of 10 agent groups up to 1,000 agents, 5,000
Yeah.
agents, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
platform.
Interesting. That's really cool, man. Yeah, I feel like in terms of like compliance standpoint, like in terms of what people run for ads, it's kind of like a race to the bottom in a sense, and we've kind of transitioned away from that. Just working with it's more of like a slow build, but we work with offers that have much higher payouts, but we really have to be super clean on it. It probably takes us like a couple months to get us the cap that we need to get to really start making money on it. But I think longevity wise, Facebook likes it more. The buyers like it more. We just like, we don't even have to like overly think about like, hey, how can we get a little bit more shady on this ad and push more aggressively? So I agree with you in that sense. I think the long-term game is just run a little bit more compliant and work with people that are just willing to pay more for that lead. So yeah, or call in your case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's I like I said, I'm very very happy that I was able to transition into this role and transition into this company. I mean, I've had some of the coolest experiences in recent memory with
Yeah.
just one of the things that I did recently was I basically lived at Tyler's place for like a few weeks, because
Yeah.
over like a month period, because first of all I didn't have my own place because I went through a breakup, and
Yeah.
I kind of ran away from everything and went to like Thailand and Dubai, and
Yeah.
then ended up coming back to Toronto, and I'm like, shit, I need a place. But
Yeah.
while I was getting that arranged, we had a couple of conferences happen, and I went and I stayed at Tyler's house. And what's really funny is I'm going to shout out his daughter Hadley. I was on the way to a conference, and she had snuck a note into my backpack, and
Yeah.
and Tyler comes from like a religious family, and his wife
Yeah.
is very religious, and they go to church every Sunday, and I'm not at all
Yeah.
religious, but
Yeah.
watching they are a perfect example of what benefits religion has.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen any negatives with that family. Like I've seen only benefits in terms of
Yeah.
how respectful their kids are, how great their relationship is. I mean,
Hmm.
Tyler's the type of guy that'll go. We'll fly to Florida for a 3 day event, but we noticed that we've done everything that we needed to do in 2 days, and then he's like, "Ah, screw it, let's just go back," because he misses
Yeah.
his kids. You know,
Yeah.
so and coming from a world where it's the grind mindset, where it's like, no, I'm going to
Yeah.
disappear for a week and go work. It's a big change. But his daughter, she wants to save me because I'm a heathen, and so she snuck this like this like 5-page essay into my backpack telling me how Jesus loves me and wants to save me, and
Yeah.
it was very touching because it's like this 8-year-old kid like
Yeah.
cares so deeply about me that she's so scared that I'm not
Yeah.
going to be saved, you know?
It's like comical, but it's also kind of sweet, man. Just
Oh,
like I
dude, it's the
think,
sweetest.
yeah. My mom's very religious and she's always like worried about me, and I'm just like, I'm good, mom. We're okay. Don't worry. I got this.
Yeah, but
That's funny, man. That's really funny. Kids are hilarious, dude. Kids are freaking hilarious. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But you can tell it's coming from a good place. And honestly, dude, like I said, like I'm starting to really change my mindset on a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and in my own life, I've gone to the point where I make decent money and I'm able to. I don't really have many things that I want that I can't
Yeah.
afford per se,
Yeah.
and it's a great point to reach. And now I'm starting to see why all these guys that are very wealthy are so focused on bettering themselves. So
Yeah.
I recently got into the carnivore diet,
Oh,
and
amazing,
I'm
dude.
now, dude, like my refrigerator. I'll show you one sec. Let me walk to my refrigerator, but
Yeah.
literally my fridge is kind of empty right now because I'm still moving in, but I have
Yeah.
like bacon and ham and eggs, and I have some steak in the fridge
Yeah.
and some salmon, and it's like my probiotics and
Yeah. Yeah.
like ginger
Dude.
turmeric shots, like, and
Ham,
it's all.
you're a bad Jew, bro.
I also have like a bunch of tattoos on my back, and that are Buddhist. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm Jewish by blood, not by religion. Let's
Yeah,
put it
you're
that
you're
way.
you're a fluid religious person.
I
That's
am
fucking funny.
Jewish.
Jewish-ish, yeah. When it serves
Yeah,
you. That
exactly.
that's funny, man. So I mean, like, okay, so now you're in this new company, everything's going good. You seem like you're quite happy here. What's kind of like your long term play with this, man? Are you just like diving in full to this company for now, or do you have like bigger goals than this? Like, you just, I don't really know you in terms of where you want to end up in life. Where
So
is that?
that's fine. It's a really good question. So, and this is going to come out of left field because I thought about this for quite a while, and a few years ago I didn't have an answer at all.
Yeah,
I want to dive as deep as I can into Enroll Here because
yeah,
I respect Tyler. I respect the people, like I said, so much. Everybody on the team that I think that the knowledge on a selfish level, the knowledge that I'm going to gain from multiple years of interaction with this group of individuals is going to lead me
yeah,
to drastically change. I mean, the person that I was prior to Retriever and the person that I am after Retriever is also
yeah,
like, it was a massive change, and I credit that to everybody, everybody on that team, from Jason to Dylan, Taylor, Vlad,
yeah,
Kyle. Um, you know, Phil, obviously, Phil of all people, who I love so
yeah.
much, and he's now the current CEO. Everybody really on that team has changed me in one way or another, right?
Hmm.
And now moving into this company, dude, from day one, from talking to Tyler, from talking to EJ and Brandon and all the other guys on the team, I'm learning so much about myself and about kind of how rough around the edges I am in comparison to these people, that I want to take a few years and kind of hone my skill and learn
Yeah,
from them. Now, once, let's say, 3, 4, 5, however many years, once there's an exit event, and I kind of set myself a goal of like by 40, 41 to be at a point where I actually want to do, or I'm actually going to do the thing that I really want to do. And the thing that I
yeah,
really want to do is going to sound a little bit silly, but I'm a massive lover of fighting and MMA
yeah, yeah,
and all these things. And the thing that I would love to do is team up with these guys that I kind of grew up with, that I was doing Muay Thai with, like Firdaus and a bunch of these other guys, and start an organization of some sort, start a sports organization that, instead of kind of taking advantage of athletes,
yeah.
actually doesn't just hone their abilities from a physical standpoint, but also hones their abilities from financial literacy and understanding
Hmm.
marketing and understanding how to push yourself, and maybe involving guys like you and guys that have taught people how to make millions of dollars. Because
Yeah.
you take an athlete, and that has a following, and you figure out a product that works, and the sky is the limit in terms of what you can do. Like I was with Jared Cannonier in Arizona, and his nickname is the Killer Gorilla. Like, dude, the stuff
Good
that you can
nickname.
do with that name, especially when you already have a
Yeah.
following of let's say 200
Yeah.
thousand followers or whatever, like the stuff that you can do there is crazy. And I kind of told him, like, dude, like start a supplement company or start like anything.
Anything.
Like the Killer
Yeah.
Gorilla is such a fantastic name, and you have a following, and you're like a top tier athlete. The man's 40 years old with an 8 pack. Like
That's crazy.
like
Yeah.
he is ripped to shreds, and he still fights, and he's still knocking dudes out.
Yeah.
Like guys like that require certain financial literacy that they may not have, or marketing
Yeah.
literacy that they don't have. So my kind of my awakening in life happened when I started doing Muay Thai, because I realized that there's nothing scarier than getting punched or kicked in the face. So
Yeah.
you go into a meeting with somebody, and let's say it's a massive company and there's a lot riding on the deal, and let's say they say, yeah, we're going to go another direction. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not as bad as getting punched in the face.
For
It might
sure.
feel kind
For
of
sure.
similar, but it's not as
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And Jocko Willink talks about, you make a mistake or something doesn't happen your way, you
Yeah.
say good. So I apply a lot of that mentality. And so what do I want to do is in my 40s, I want to run that kind of organization, and I want
That'd be
to,
cool.
I want to maybe like buy property and host a bunch of athletes and have them kind of fight their way to. It's a silly idea, but it's kind of funny. It's like I learned this from a podcast with Yoel Romero and Joe Rogan, where he was talking about how like living in a wrestling camp in Cuba, the people living on like the bottom floors were like the people that weren't really winning, and they weren't really
Mhm.
progressing, and then the people, and they were like eating basic food or whatever, and then the people on the top floor who were like the best wrestlers in the country, they were eating steak, and they were having kind of
Yeah.
this amazing lifestyle. So having that kind of hierarchy, there's nothing wrong with having a hierarchy,
No,
and
I think we need
and
it.
it, we do, and we've gotten to a world now where everybody thinks that the world is like this cozy, cuddly place that's supposed to hug you,
No.
but in reality,
No.
you get out of college and you figure out
Yeah.
that nobody gives a shit. So same thing
Yeah.
applies to this. Like I
Yeah.
want to be able to help people, but I want to help them in a way where they're helping themselves, and they're kind of generating
Yeah.
their own progress. And obviously, you can like stream, and you can have like fights inside the house, and you can do all these different
Yeah.
things, and
It's
it would
smart,
be,
man.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that would
smart.
be
And
my
like,
idea if I had a bunch of money to throw at it.
yeah. It was interesting when you're saying like nothing's worse than being punched in the face. I was thinking that like more people need to be punched in the face. Like everyone, just once. Women and men. Like let's like you need to know what it hurts like to get a good clock to the jaw. Cause like even if it's
Dude,
accidental, you just need to feel it. Just like it
dude,
should be like a yeah.
that feeling. I was in Bangkok, and I met John Jones because a friend of his is a friend of mine, and anyway, I got to meet him in like a pretty cool environment, and John Jones is one of those guys, when you meet him, he starts sparring with you. If you know anything about martial arts,
Yeah.
and you like stand with him, he'll like wrestle with you, or he'll spar with
Yeah.
you, or he'll do something. And we're like just doing like basic hand sparring, whatever. And at a certain point, this man touches me on the forehead with his elbow from a distance that I didn't conceivably imagine that somebody could touch me with their elbow on my forehead.
Yeah.
He's also like bigger than me, whatever. But
Yeah.
you know, and I felt like my life flash in front of my eyes. It wasn't like a hard
Oh
hit
yeah.
or anything, but it was enough for me to know that, like, yeah, this guy can kill me if he wants to. And it's a very, and this is like after me being in Muay Thai for like over 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I consider myself a decent fighter. Like I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing, and if something happens in real life, like I'll be able to protect myself. But this man touched me on the forehead with his elbow from a distance that made no sense to me. And I'm standing there and I'm like, shit. But it's such a humbling moment. But that's
Yeah.
it. Like doing martial arts humbles you, and then having this mindset of like, there's always somebody better than you. Like you're never the best. And in our
Yeah.
industry, in our industry, all I see is a bunch of people that will be like, "Oh, whose watch is better than whose?" You know,
Yeah.
um, and in reality, it's not about that. It's guys that are the least flashy that are making the most amount of money, and they're also,
100%, bro.
dude, like there's some fucking sleeping sharks out there. They're just
Oh
like
yeah.
you meet these guys, and you're like, oh, so you exist? Like you're the real deal, bro. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting,
Yeah.
you know. And you meet these guys, and you
Yeah.
just get excited that they exist, you know.
Yeah, and dude, that's always the case. Like the dudes that just like, man, even the other day, and I'm not going to dig into it too much, but I went to a track day here. I got invited, a friend through a friend. I didn't really know the guy, but like, just a general looking dude, unsuspecting, but like, he rented Coda Circuits of America for half a day, and that was $55,000. Whatever, sure. He does it once a month, brings his family, his kid, like everything. It was like a full family affair. The kid's doing hot laps in a brand new GT3 RS. The dad's doing hot laps. Like the dad's like got to be like 75. Coolest guy ever, man. And he's just like he's doing laps in a Ferrari pista. And like these guys are fucking fast. Like these guys know what they're doing. Um, and then and then they're like, there's this guy working on all these cars and like making sure the tire pressures is right and everything like that. And they're like, oh yeah, that's like their car manager because he's got such a big collection of cars. You know, he's just there making sure all the pressures are right, suspension's dialed in, all this stuff, right? And like that guy just hangs out with the car collection. And like apparently this guy's got a crazy car collection. I didn't go into it too much. But anyway, my point is like if you ran into this guy anywhere, you'd just be like, whatever, regular dude, no big deal. Like just he doesn't look flashy at all. But like knowing what I know now, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like you must be just like, fuck you, rich. Like by far, fuck
Yeah,
you, rich.
yeah,
Um,
like
and
own the color blue.
yeah, and we're all out here chasing like gold Daytonas or whatever the fuck it is, man. But like those guys are like they got cash, but they're not like the rich people. The rich people just they're very unsuspecting.
Dude, but even, like this is one of the things that I'll say. Tyler sold his company to Humana, made a ton of money. They all made great money. And he's still like one of the most humble, kind of chill guys I've
Yeah,
ever met in my life. Like he to him, like he doesn't go around and scream that, oh, blah, I have all this money, whatever. He dresses like a normal dude. He drives a really
yeah,
cool truck, but you don't
yeah,
see him like going crazy. He lives in the middle of North Carolina because his wife loves being there and wants
yeah,
to be with her family. And those are the things that I respect so much about them. And about people like him, which there aren't that many around there. One thing I will
yeah.
say, because I know we're coming up on time, but one thing I'll tell you is with Enroll Here, I want more of these guys. So whoever's watching this podcast, and you can clip this and use this as like a promo clip or whatever, but
I
um,
don't really care.
whoever, well, I would love, so whoever is watching this podcast, if Medicare directly, message me, Stan at enrollhere.com, reach out to me on LinkedIn. We want guys like you. We want original publishers that are generating their own stuff, that have control over the creatives. You guys are the ones that really matter to me.
Hmm.
That are going to we'll just help each other. Like we'll grow together.
Yeah, yeah,
That is the
yeah.
most important thing for me.
I can vouch for Stan too. He's a solid dude, man. He's only been helpful for me in my career and life and in the short time that we've known each other. But even if you're not in Medicare, I think there's opportunity here because if you're a really good media buyer house, like there's lots of guys here that are fantastic media buyers. They can do big volume on their own or with a team. Like I think that would be worth pursuing, at least like having the
Just give me a shout.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give me a shout anytime. I'm
yeah.
happy to speak to anybody.
Cool, man. Well, that was good. It was different. Like usually we just
What is
have like
it?
media, but we have media buyers
Uh,
on and we dig deep on that stuff. But I think this is cool, dude. Like this is definitely different, and I like it. And I'm trying to add a little diversity to the mix here, so it's good.
Yeah, I'm not a media buyer, right? So like I know how to media buy if I wanted to, like if I
Yeah,
really needed to. I know how to use Facebook and Google and whatever to do that stuff. But yeah, for me it's all, dude, for me, like the way that I live life and the way that I move through business is just by communicating honestly with people. So
yeah,
if
yeah,
one thing, if that's one thing I can impart, is like being a media buyer is one thing, but you should be able um to communicate uh and understand how people communicate as well.
yeah. I agree. Um, All right, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps it up there. If you want to reach out to Stan, we'll include some links below. We'll probably include his Instagram as well if he's cool with that. And
Sure.
yeah, slide in, get talk to him. All right, guys. See you on the next one. Thanks, Stan.
Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Bye.